All right, and good afternoon, everybody. Spin Ventures here, live from the University of Tampa, home of the Spartans, Tampa Spartans. We are on the University of Tampa's campus, and because there is a very historical site here on the campus, it is the Henry B. Plant Museum. Now, who is Henry B. Plant? So, he was the guy who had the railroad based in Tampa that crossed the southeast. And he is a guy who was part of the railroad here in Florida. And we're going to talk more about him as we enter the museum and as we go through the documentary and the historic history of the railroad and how Henry B. Plant presented the railroad and helped construct it through Tampa, Florida. So let's go have a look around and see what's inside. It's of course big, which I like, and walk up the big steps here. You can kind of see the architecture of it. It's very rounded, very marble-esque. See the ground walking on here is marble, and the pillars as well are very strong. Of course, you can see the fountain right there. Has an eagle on top, and this is actually the Plant Hall. I'm really hoping that the museum is open because, wow, this was the hotel. Well, let's take a look in here. This was the hotel that with, wow, many statues here. Of course, this very all original sofas right here. Little sofas. Of course, the museum is right through here. This was part of the hotel. And you would, so let's go ahead and use the veranda entrance. What does that mean? That's the men's restroom downstairs. So we have to walk around. But this part you could see all these horses. Reminds me of a chess piece. You can play chess. You have these knight horses, part of the chess piece, and it's all original. All original. Like I said, this hotel was based back in the early 1800s. And I'm talking like 1812. And just the architecture, it blows me away that this was a hotel before it was a college or a university. This was a hotel that just sat in Tampa, and people came and stayed the night. Of course, it was, but of course we don't know that it would be a historic landmark here in the Tampa area. But we are going to try to go into the Alright, so this is stop number 9. We're kind of going out of order here. There is an audio tour of this museum, and this is a mark of a low breeding to fidget either with the hands or feet or to fuss with the collar. This is a clock and an old dresser or a cabinet. This is a cabinet here, just made with with the finest art on this chest, as you can see. And we'll find out what this is for, and then I'll talk about it.
Tropical plants never before seen in Florida, and Florida's first elevator went into the lobby. On February 5th, 1891, the hotel opened with a bang. 2,000 guests attended a grand ball. The next day, the New York Times called the hotel one of the grandest in the country. This was Florida's first all-electric, steam-heated, completely fireproofed hotel. And it was dazzling.
So Florida was touted in the press as an exotic destination, and that sense of the exotic is probably why Platt must have wanted a Moorish Oriental style building. That's immediate publicity. It gives a sense of place to a town that may not have too much of a sense of place, which was the case with young developing Tampa.
Now the hotel would go on to become what Platt had really wanted. A tropical resort. In fact, it was the first time the hotel had been fully occupied.
It was the Tampa Bay Hotel, Florida's first Magic Kingdom. Just like Magic Kingdom at Disney World is today, Tampa had its own Magic Kingdom based on Henry B. Platt. And his hotel is now a museum. And just taking a look, amazing. This is a painted sculpture of a woman and her child holding an apple here. It's just great. It's all painted. It's just these paintings were up on the wall in the lobby. As you can see right here, these people, this little band, not band, but orchestra. The orchestra at the Tampa Bay Hotel of 1909, and this is exactly where they sat, and this painting is still here to this day. This is where the orchestra sat, where I'm standing, and this was number 13, and they played the sound when they opened it in 1909, and this is women in their pastimes. Just the room is very ominous, and it really throws you back in time as I'm walking through this museum. And the female guests at the hotel could choose from a variety of leisure activities. Many joined their husbands on hunting and fishing, or seasoned outdoor women, adept at riding and shooting. Quieter choices included an afternoon concert in the music room, tea in the garden, or a relaxing stroll along the palm walk by the Hillsborough River. This floor, covering the original Tampa Bay Hotel carpet, was used for the Grand Saloon and Gold Room. Just catch a glimpse of a shared bathroom and could be fully viewed from the video room next door. And that's where we took a picture in the bathroom of how it was back then. And now we just have this magnificent hotel that, like I said, can't say enough, can takes you back into the late 1800s, early 1900s when this was built. And then just some of the entertainment, the dining room and entertainment. Its social life revolved around the dining room and outstanding cuisines. You could see the different chinaware and how expensive this was. That looks like a golden spoon. I kid you not. They had golden spoon and golden silverware. Even the butter knife is gold. And the plates are just the finest china plates you can get back then. And they were expensive. They were not cheap whatsoever. They were it was most of delicacy meals. And children and their nannies, as well as personal servants, were served in the breakfast room. also called the River Room. And as you can see as I panorama around, this was it was tapestries and Japanese screens. Chef Joseph B. Campazzi was celebrated all over the country, and waiters from the leading hotels and clubs of New York, cooking and service equaled that of any hotel in the world. Guests were served on a variety of porcelains, beef on French lingots, salad on an old Vienna semi-sarcastic pattern, ice cream on plates by Mortz Fitchier, and coffee in Wedgwood cups. Please feel free. Oh, and this picture here, this mural, is what it looked like in the dining room at the hotel back in 1895, early 1900s of 1909. And of course, this door, all these doors and windows and structures are original. Even these minute spoons. Now, here's where I kind of came to go into with the Spanish-American War. Now, the Spanish-American War and its Tampa connection. So, take a look here. I'll show you guys there we go, the room, and so you can see behind me the woman here in her 1800s outfit, and the clothes that they wore, the stuff that they did back then. Like I said, this was the only hotel that had electricity and was on steam powered, and had electricity, and it made it so expensive. That's why the dining ware and the silverware was what it was. It was gold and silver and gold, pure gold. And so, as the headquarters of the U.S. Army, there we go. It was the Tampa Hotel played an important role as in the Spanish-American War of 1898. Henry Plant convinced the Secretary of War to select Tampa as the official port of embarkation because the Plant Railroad could transport troops to Florida and Plant steamships could transport them to Cuba. As a result of its role in the war, the Tampa Bay Hotel was awarded National Historic Landmark status by the Secretary of Interior in 1976. As a result of the war, the United States took control of Cuba and granted her independence in 1902. I won't read all this because, one, it's so small to read you can't really see it, and two, it would be forever for me to read it. So I'm just kind of showing you pictures of what happened in Tampa during the Spanish-American War. Of course, it was obtained possession of the former Spanish territories of the Philippines, Puerto Rico, and Guam. The fight for Cuba. On July 1st, some 8,000 Americans forced their way up San Juan Hill under heavy fire. Pinned down by the Spanish riflemen, Theodore Roosevelt led his Rough Riders in a rush up the slopes and nearby Kettle Hill, supported by black Buffalo soldiers of the 9th and 10th of United States Cavalry. The famous Charged On earned Roosevelt a nomination for the Congressional Medal of Honor. That's where they go. And that's where they charged up San Juan Hill. The Rough Riders from Theodore Roosevelt. And of course, you got preparation for war as Port Tampa selected for embarkation. That's what I was just reading on that before. kind of making our way room to room, and all kinds of fascinating things on this journey. And here you can see the garden and garden furnishings, all these pots, and I thought that was a real bird, but it's not. The bird cages, you got pots, vases, however you pronounce it, all in here, painted by hand, sculpted by hand, and really fascinating. You got a monkey here, and you got a frog. The gardens were the important center of living for Victorians, and the Tampa Bay Hotel was a particularly ideal place for the gardens because of the warm winter weather. Henry Plant hired German landscape architect Anton Fayet to create the lavish grounds. He brought in over 72 exotic fruits and flower plants. Garden seats were also used inside the hotel's sanatorium, along with briarwood benches, Chinese tables. It was a window-filled room which connected the main portion of the hotel to the dining room. Guests who had been advised by a physician to visit the warm southern climate would often seek refuge in this attractive space. This face is just fascinating. This is amazing. Look at this art. Reminds me of like the let's say circus, but kind of does, just with the colors and the elaborate art on some of these vases. It's really, really cool. And now we enter into some of the other rooms. And of course, all original carpet, original railings. Of course, down here. The manager is the only officer in the hotel authority over the housekeeper. Of course, that's what it means. This is the staircase area, of course. You got the staircase here. These furnishings are from the 3rd and 4th floor guest rooms. Each room had a fireplace and access to a bathroom with hot or cold running water. Luxurious, such as these estate beds and dressing table, right here, were in every room. Today, the upper floors are used by the University of Tampa for classrooms, administration, and professor offices. Wow. So they actually, from the University of Tampa, are used in this historic site, which is really, really cool. But, of course, you got wide open space here. You got a tiny TV here, a baseball. Oh, how Babe Ruth knocks a home run. Let's check it out. It's going in slow motion. And I don't know why. He throws the pitch. Where is Babe Ruth? Of course, Babe Ruth was a famous baseball player. During the batting honors with Babe Ruth, along using follow-through swing. Kaboom. Now watch this perfect form. That was not a perfect form whatsoever there, buddy. But anyway, we have the Bobcat. That's a Bobcat. Of course, we have some games. These are some outside games that they had out on the lawn of the hotel, especially for the summertime and in the summer heat. They played cricket and shuffleboarding and baseball. There's a baseball bat right there. And of course, they had down by the Hillsborough River, you got some fishing where they caught some fish and hunting gear. And of course, they played a game of horseshoes. And this was around this area, and it was on a budget of this hotel. And just magnificent. Again, I cannot say enough about the art that was in this area. I mean, this was to preserve art. They even got live deer antlers here, even a big old sea bass. In fact, I think that's it's not a marlin, it's a catfish. No, it might be a catfish. I think that's a catfish. And of course, deer heads. You got a shotgun used by deer hooves, holding it in place. Of course, you got the own phone. 3. These were old phones. Old phones that you could hear on eavesdrop on. Yes, apparently. Heard between 1891 and 1932. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but it's like one of the American anthems. My old records. Now we move on to the next room. But before we do that, we are going to see some of the Chinaware spoons that they use. Of course, some of these are really have a creative art on them, as you can see. You know, some of these spoons have the Henry B. Plant Museum on the spoon. It says Tampa, Florida. And you got some of them have palm trees. Some that have the whole city skyline. Some that have alligators on them. I know it's hard to see because of the glass, but there you go. There we go. Palm trees, you got the Henry B. Plant Museum, some of these, very cool. You got the, of course you got the fireplace here, some of this, statuettes, these are just the souvenirs. While at the Tampa Bay Hotel was under construction, Margaret and Henry Plant traveled extensively throughout Europe, purchasing furniture and art for the Plant's palace. They selected each piece with the hope of attracting the elite who enjoyed similar objects in their own homes. The Gilded Age from 1880 to 1920 owed its inspiration to the great civilization of the past and revivals of Renaissance era Greek and Egyptian styles are evident in many of these furnishings. So you can see some of these, especially the lady holding the, looks like a bee from Egypt. She's got that gold robe-ish skirt, and she looks like she is an Egyptian woman with that attire. And also some of these statues are some of the souvenirs they brought back from Europe. Henry Plant and Margaret, his wife, brought back to store while the hotel was being built. They brought back some of those souvenirs back there to preserve and to make their guests feel welcomed as if they're staying in their own house. So, great idea there, Mr. Henry. That was a great idea. Now we move on to, looks like the library. This room is reminds me of like a library office area. This looks like be mostly just kind of a relaxing area. It could be in the lobby. And of course, they got the old style dress there. And this, just like a walk-through room, and moreover, like I said, a lobby, either the lobby or someone's office, or the manager. And now some of these rooms, this looks like it'd be one of like a guest room, one of the hotel rooms would look like. It's got, of course, it's got the Bible. Naturally, most hotels have Bibles today that are in the drawer in one of the dressers, usually by the TV. And it says, and of course the closet there with the old-fashioned clothes that they had on, that they wore back in the 1800s, and some of the hats. You can see up there, like the women wore the hats. And this is old wood there, some statue. Of course, you got another area where they could play cards. And listen to music. Sounds like it'd be another part of the lobby. Let me make our way through. You see these statues here. Absolutely enjoy. Look at some of these statues and learning about this museum. Not just a museum, but the hotel. And I don't know, for some reason, like just some of the vibe, like this vibe feeling, as you feel like you're traveling. And that chime works. That's awesome. That still, it's this clock right here. It's 3 o'clock and it rang 3 times. And it looks like cherubim and seraphim on the clock in gold. This is pure gold right here. I would not touch that. And it says surveillance in place, so I'm not touching that. And it reminds me of like the Ark of the Covenant. So I'm not gonna touch this, but it's not the Ark of the Covenant. It's just got the 2 angels, cherubim and seraphim on the clock, which is really cool. Alright, so we've entered the Henry B. Plant part, and there's his wife. There's his wife, Miss Margaret Plant, Margaret Josephine Lauman Plant, from 1848 to 1909, and she was the wife of Henry B. Plant, who was 1819 to 1899. He was the king of Florida, the expressman who grasped the golden opportunity and founded a vast transportation system, including the railroad, the transportation of boats, ships, and there's one more. It wasn't an airplane. I think it was just the railroads and the boats. And so we'll talk about that here shortly. But if you spend your winter in the South, spend your summer in the East on the Plant steamships. And of course, these are all the ships. You got the SS Olivet, the SS Muscat, the SS Florida, the SS Evangeline, the SS Halifax. So there, you got the SS A.W. Perry, steamboats H.B. Plant and Chattahoochee, the steamboat Tarpon, the steamboat H.B. Plant, the steamboat Margaret. This is the map of Florida. Well, the map of the East Coast, and where his ships all went to. I mean, you got from out of Tampa, you got down to Cuba, you go to New Orleans, you go through the Mississippi, you got, of course, ships be on water, Then from the ships to the railroad, you got the rail lines all throughout the East Coast here. Not just the East Coast, but the Midwest as well, even into Cincinnati, Ohio. And then you got the ships from Savannah. I've been to Savannah, Georgia. You can check out that video below in the description. I'll link that down. And it takes the ships all to Richmond. It takes it to New York. It takes it to Boston. It takes it to Baltimore, even. And of course, then the railroads would go through into Cincinnati, some into Columbus, Ohio, and then you go through Missouri up here, and even into Memphis, I think. Memphis, Tennessee, and up through Jackson, even. It goes to Jackson. Jackson was not that close to Memphis. They had that wrong, by the way. So, just pointing that out, but slight error. That's okay, though. But we also have the railroad and some of the signatures on this Tampa Bay Hotel book. This is the guest book and the manager's book. And all the different managers that they had over the years are in this book. I cannot read some of these writings because it is written in cursive and some scribble. So I will not be able to read some of these names, but this is just the book you can check out of some of the managers that were in this Tampa Bay Hotel when it first opened and renovated it and worked here. All right, not just the railroad, or just the transportation part of this particular. This room is very dark. Whoa, okay. I like the automatic lighting as you walk into the room. So we're gonna imagine this is the Imagined East Decorative Arts Bureau case. Rounds at Steve Richard at the Bank of Tampa, Museum Trustees, the New York Yankees Foundation, which is Raymond James. It was at the Museum Trustees honoring Cynthia, and then you got the Saunders Foundation. At TECO, Tampa Electric Company. Of course, you got the Islamic architecture of the Tampa Bay Hotel. Although Tampa Bay Hotel architect J.A. Wood was adept at many, known for his Moorish revival elements due to his work on structures like the old Hillsborough County Courthouse and the Tampa Bay Hotel, which is now the Henry B. Plant Museum. Moorish revival architecture takes inspiration from the Islamic architecture that could be seen across North Africa and the Iberian Peninsula. This influence can be seen throughout the sculpture of the Tampa Bay Hotel, most obviously in the iconic minarets. Traditionally, the minaret tower is built into a mosque, and the adhan and the Muslim call to prayer is called from such a tower. The Tampa Bay Hotel's minarets were not used in this way, but they carry another icon of Islamic symbolism in the very top of the funnels, the crescent moon. Oh, all right. I'm just going through and seeing some of this architecture. I'm not reading everything. So like I said, this video would be forever long, but some of this is very like this old glassware. This was the, like I said, when we went to the dinner plate earlier, the dining room, this was some of the chinaware. This was some of the silverware, plates, spoons, teacups. This is what they used back in 1872. Wow. The roll of china. There it is. the writing and reading room. Simple enough, where people come to read and write. And this is just some conservation. Oh, here we go. The reading and writing room. But you got to be very quiet in here because people concentrate on this. With the big architectural mirror in the back, you got Miss Margaret there and Henry B. Plant on that side. And this is quietly writing and reading room. It's the most historic room in the entire building and was a popular gathering spot for gentlemen. Here would pursue newspapers and attend to their correspondence and use the door to the left of the fireplace to visit the basement Rathskeller for a game of billiards or a haircut. It was left of the fire. That door right there. Right there, that's the door. It would lead down to the basement. Imagine the room was permeated by the fragrance of cigar smoke. It smells like it. When Henry Plant built the railroad to Tampa in 1884, Mr. Ebor moved his cigar factories from Key West to Tampa. Mr. Plant's railroad had finally made it possible for the cigar industry to expand the market and their hand-rolled cigars to northern cities. So this was the reading and writing room, or writing and reading room as they call it here. And this was the door right here that the men would go down to the basement. You can't go in there now, but this was the door that led down to the basement where they played billiards and had games and stuff. But this was up here. This was the writing and reading room, as you can see here, where they really took a shot and quietly read their papers, read a book to kind of calm their nerves after the busy work that they do over the course of the day. So next room we're going to check out. We're going to find the railroad room. And I know there was one because I saw it. And so, but each of these rooms has its own how do I say it? Historic story. It's room. Each room in this hotel has its own story to tell, which I love. And it just buckles down to it. I think I've actually been in every room. So, very much so a exciting sight to see. So we're going to see some trains here. There's some of the trains. I guess these are just some it's just some of the pictures. Alabama Midland Railway. Savannah, Florida, and Western. Some of these trains that were Henry Plant and Henry Flagler. Of course, Flagler was in Daytona. I think Henry Flagler Beach. Yes, it's on the East Coast. Railroads. Plant was Florida's greatest 19th century railroad developer. Other individuals spent more money to develop more extensive areas of the state, but in the railroad field, no one surpassed Henry B. Plant. You can see some of the, of course, the ship's line, and then you got the railroad over here. So this was the railroad. That was the bell of the old steam engine. This is the oldest elevator. I walked right past it, the elevator entrance. Outside and then that's the elevator there. But this elevator right here around the corner is the oldest elevator in Florida, right here. This is it. This is the oldest elevator in Florida. The oldest elevator originally functioned hydraulically with beginning operation in 1891. The opening of the Tampa Bay Hotel. Pressurized water stored in large wooden roof tanks forced a rope-geared piston in the shaft, moving the elevator up and down. In 1925, the hydraulic system was replaced by electric power. You can actually just walk in here. Sweet. This is not an operation. You can see it had an up and down lever that you can pull. So you can see the iron gate, it would close. And I'm going to talk about this. I'm standing in the elevator now, but I'm going to talk about this because the buttons all would happen. They had buttons on here. 1, 2, 3, 4. There were 4 levels. You go up and down. And of course you got the lever down here. Right here is the lever. And it would pull. You can use it to either go up or down. Turn which way. It would take you up or down a level. Of course, the lowest level was 1. And so that would be the lobby. The second level, third, fourth level would be the bedrooms. And so this is the oldest elevator in the state of Florida on the campus of the University of Tampa. What are they all? So, very cool. Awesome historic mark there for the Henry B. Plant Museum. And hopefully, we're not done just yet. We're going to end outside because there are some statues and some markings outside that need to be discussed. Hopefully, it doesn't rain on us. Oh, alright, here we go. Heading outside now. As you can see around this cul-de-sac here, there's the beautiful skyline of Tampa. We are downtown. Of course, the Henry B. Plant Museum is wide open. You can see behind me. There it is. Henry B. Plant Museum with its architecture and hotel. Fantastic museum. So it sits right here on the campus. There it is. This former Grand Resort Hotel, a seat of culture and education, has been the proud symbol of Tampa since 1891. Erected by the University of Tampa class of 1991, on occasion of the Continental of the building, this marker is a tribute to the role of the hotel and the University of Tampa and the rich history of this era. Let those who have passed through these halls inspire us to realize that life is truly what we make of it. And now we head to this fountain. Towards this fountain and in the park. Let's see. You got an eagle. You got two women. Statues. Henry Bradley Plant. Got an eagle. We got the two women on each side carrying, holding stuff, locks and chains for some reason. Then you got two fish on either side spitting out water into the fountain here. Of course, right here, it's the Henry B. Plant Museum. Of course, there we go, much behind me. Henry B. Plant and the museum that sits right in front of me. I'll definitely be taking some pictures of this because this is a very historic, this is a really fun, hold on one second. The Rathskeller. You can actually go in here. Oh, that would be cool. So this is the Rathskeller that the men from the talking about. Go in here. Let's try this out. Let's see. We're going in to the Rathskeller. No, you cannot go in. This was the Rathskeller, the basement where the people, where the game. Yep, it's locked. So, unfortunately, we cannot into the Rathskeller. But let's still talk about this statue ahead of me. Moreover, anyway, we're gonna end it here in front of the Henry B. Plant Museum, a great museum to check out on the University of Tampa campus, home of the Spartans, and a lot of history in this museum. I felt like I was taking a trip back in time to the 1800s, early 1900s, when Henry B. Plant built this hotel in Tampa to preserve and accommodate all guests that came through here. It truly was the Magic Kingdom of its time, from Disney World of today, and it's a come and check it out, please. It's great for all history buffs. American history, world history, you name it. It is truly a classic attraction here on the campus, and right in downtown Tampa. So come on and check it out, and be sure to subscribe to Spin Ventures, and drop a like on this video. Leave comments down below, and yeah, I'll give a link in the description down below of the other museum I went and toured. This one was a classic. I've wanted to see this museum for a while. Finally had the chance to, and but we will see you all on the next Spin Venture coming at you very shortly from the Henry B. Plant Museum.